You have to lose your life in order to find it. You have to lose one way of living in order to find a different one that's better suited to who you are at this particular time. But you can do that, though it takes character. You have to lose your life in order to find it, but you can lose your life and you can find a new one. I've been very fortunate. I feel good. I'm okay. But it's not like when you were a kid anymore. It's not like when you're sure you'll win any fast and loose betting game you decide to play with your body. I've had some insights by this time. I've never really been sick, but it's dawned on me by now that good health is more than just the absence of illness. It's more than just not being sick. Good health is the direct result of right thinking and right living. In other words, of strong character. A buddy told me about his old football coach, who always used to tell the boys on the team that the most important thing they could do for themselves as a team playing football and as individuals playing the game of life was to develop what he referred to as a healthy attitude. Sure, they had to do push-ups, they had to tackle a dummy and push the blocking sled, but if they didn't do it with a healthy attitude, then as far as this old coach was concerned, they were just so much dead weight pushing around just so much more dead weight. Well, they were young and strong, but you know, what church and that wise old lady couldn't make me understand, I first began to think about a little when I heard about that old coach's emphasis on having a healthy attitude. It was different from just a strong body. It had something to do with that, but it had something to do with character as well. A healthy attitude. That's like knowing that in order to go from point A to point B, you have to walk a straight line and not veer away or get distracted by things that might seem pleasant for a moment, but really don't contribute to your well-being. Or, as the coach might have said, to the good of the team that's depending on you. You've got to go straight up and down the field. You can't go sideways just because the hot dogs and soda pop are over there, to say nothing of the cheerleaders. That sort of distraction is for after the game, if ever, and not being able to keep to the task is unhealthy thinking and bad attitude and weak character. I used to think all that was cornball stuff. Now I still think it's cornball, but also important and even true. Your attitude, the slant you put on things, the way you lean into life or back away from it, is all part of your character. And if you're in life for the long run, you're going to need strength and endurance for that, which also derives in part from your character, at least when you get past the age of 17 or 18. In order to live a long time and to be well throughout, you have to be an athlete of health, a real long-distance runner. And anybody who's ever even just watched the Olympics on television knows that character is an important part of running. So while health may never have seemed like a quality of character to you, I hope you're starting to see that it truly is one. It's hard to think clearly, to feel confident and strong and decisive and wise if you're short of breath when you stand up after a long spell of sitting down in a chair. To cite an extreme example, and to cite some examples that are less extreme, how can you hope to make the right decisions about where to go with your career, about what to buy and what to sell, about approaching that new client, or about calling on that old friend, if your pants are too tight, or if the middle button keeps popping open on the jacket of your business suit? But here's the good news. I say you don't have to believe every scare story that comes over the news and television telling you not to eat this or that because of what statistics say has happened in X number of cases. You don't have to make yourself crazy because of what too much of something tasty or greasy or sweet does to laboratory rats. Because you don't have to become a health fanatic to understand that some things, in big amounts, really aren't good for you. It was a Greek philosopher of the classic age who said that we should all do all things in moderation and nothing in excess. That's a principle you should definitely apply to your lifestyle. It can't hurt to have an ice cream cone every now and then, a little sweet to reward you for a job well done, a little something to take the sour taste out of your mouth on a bad day. But don't go gobbling ice cream by the quart and following that up with a pack of cigarettes and a fifth of rye whiskey. There are people who do just that, but it's a one-way ticket to the wrecker's yard. So is driving yourself crazy about health, however. So remember the principle: moderation in all things, nothing to excess. Worry and stress are as bad for your heart as a high cholesterol count. That's been proven pretty convincingly, especially by a long-term study in Finland, in which two groups of men were asked to follow very different diets over a period of years. The first group could eat and drink anything they wanted, let the chips fall where they may. The second group was watched closely. Everything they ate was recorded and evaluated. No eggs, butter, or cheese, no coffee, just herbal tea, no meat, but macrobiotic pasta was permissible. Which group had the more casualties? You make the call. What's worse is to have a high cholesterol count and always be worrying about it and punishing yourself for it with a sheet of strict Puritan rules. It's much easier to just follow moderation in all things. That way, health really is a function of character rather than the calculator. Yes, go easy on the food and drink. Go easy on the rules, too. Take, for example, the man who was a real fitness nut, even before it was really popular. Every day he did his free weight workout, and then he ran 5 miles. Every day he ate the right foods, every day for 25 years. From the time he was 18 until he was 43, he drank a glass of carrot juice and watched the nightly business report on his exercycle. That was where he died of a heart attack at 43. There's also the experience of a wealthy woman who became a follower of a man who preached long life and perfect health through diet. She gave him large amounts of money and faithfully adhered to all his food-related instructions until he died, and at an early age. She never would allow his name to be mentioned in her presence again. That may be why I've forgotten his name, although not the poetic justice of his passing on. A doctor friend of mine, a cardiologist, a man of good judgment who is very unlikely to be swayed by fads and fashions in healthcare or anything else, explained it all to me this way. You have to understand who you are and how you are made. In other words, you have to understand your character, physical, mental, and emotional. Not everybody is made to run a marathon or climb mountains or play defensive tackle for the Chicago Bears. Not everybody's got the physical or mental equipment to be a truck driver or a rocket scientist or a traveling salesman. Each of these people is used to different levels of activity. They live in worlds with different customs, different ways of training and thinking, and oh yes, different ways of celebrating. A rocket scientist doesn't need to do 20 miles of road work every day. A truck driver doesn't need to sit still and read the small print under a lamp for hours at a stretch. A football player doesn't have to stay up all night driving through heavy downpours on the vast stretches of the Midwest interstate. Each taxes his body in different ways, and each needs to eat and relax in different ways, too. One person might be able to smoke cigars or a pipe or cigarettes in moderate amount, where another man would fall ill from even casual light indulgence in tobacco. One man can hold his liquor while another can't keep it down. Some people can run for hours, but they can't sit still. Whatever the particulars of your physical constitution, and whatever the current condition of your character, there's one thing I can say immediately and with complete assurance. If you've let yourself get seriously out of shape, and if you're engaging in behaviors that are blatantly self-destructive, you're going to find it very difficult to respect yourself, and you're going to make it nearly impossible for others to respect you. This is just a fact of life in today's world and in today's system of values. Recently, I saw an obviously wealthy man pull up at the entrance of his country club in a limousine. He needed 2 flunkies to pry him out of the car. Even the valet parkers exchanged smirking glances. Unfortunately, this man was born in the wrong century, because even I, who enjoy steak and potatoes as much as anyone, could see he was making some bad choices from the menu and probably elsewhere as well. If you want success, if you want to lead, and you wouldn't be listening to me now if you were anything less than a success-oriented individual whose ambitions are not going to be held back by the hand that fate has dealt him or the place that fortune finds him. You must embrace the received lifestyle of the times. The President of the United States goes jogging most every day because he must lead a country on the run, and because he understands that people today will not tolerate a tired-out man at the top. That's just how it is, and no one person on earth is going to change the way things are at this moment right now. Times do change, and people at the top change with them, of course, but that's with the times, not against the times, not ahead of the times, not behind them.